Hare Krishna. Welcome. Willkommen im Hare Krishna Temple. Welcome to the Sunday program. Versteht jemand kein Englisch? Everybody understands English, very good. So just a short announcement in the beginning. I'm sure, what's your name? Yeah, you.
Shivanandi.
Shivanandi. I'm sure you came to listen to Krishna Premarupa Prabhu today, right? You came to listen to Krishna Premarupa Prabhu today, right? And now I'm going to announce that there is a slight change in schedule. Like you might remember, we spoke about planning in life, and we said, we have our plan, you have your plan, and Krishna has his own plan. So sometimes we have to adjust things, and actually it's very fortunate that today we have with us His Grace Gaurahari Prabhu. So let us welcome him by loudly chanting Hari Bo. Quite unexpected, he announced his arrival, and we were very happy, so we said let's make a change. And just for those of you who came for listening to the lecture of Krishna Premarupa Prabhu, because actually it's a follow-up lecture, he spoke on the 24th on Jesus Christ and Krishna consciousness, and so the interest was so big that he kindly agreed to give another talk on the topic Christianity and Krishna consciousness. So this will be taking place on the 4th of February, Sunday, so please come then. And I mean, we cannot promise anything, but we won't change the schedule again. So I just want to introduce briefly His Grace Gaurahari Prabhu. Gaurahari Prabhu is from Switzerland. He joined in this temple in 2002 and then very quickly left this temple. He was with his spiritual master, His Holiness Sachinandana Swami, as the personal assistant for quite some time. And then later on he also served as a temple president in Golokadam, which is a temple in Germany, for 8 years. And now at the moment he's trying to inspire the devotees by giving lectures. He's traveling from time to time. He's also giving courses. And today he will be presenting Gita Life chapter number 2. So the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, some overview. So thank you, Prabhu, for coming. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So before we start, we might get few other persons who might enter the temple room and might feel extremely shy to come and sit in the front. So if you could all please move a little bit forward to give some space to newcomers. Yeah, thank you. So today we will overview the chapter number 2 of Bhagavad Gita, and this is a course that was very nicely done by the School of Bhakti. His Holiness Swayam Keshava Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj is one of the main persons behind the, the genius of this presentation. So we jump directly to chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. I guess most of you are aware of the Bhagavad Gita. It's the most beautiful discussion ever taking place in a battlefield between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, who is his best friend. And in the first chapter we hear about how the armies were looking like. And Krishna had tried actually a few times to make peace, to make arrangement for peace, but it was just not possible. So now the only way to bring peace was through having a fight and, let's say, remove the one who were disturbing the peace, something like this. So now at this stage the peace is not anymore possible, fight has to take place, and in the first chapter we hear how the armies are arranged, and Arjuna, who is the main fighter of this battle, asks Krishna, who is like his friend and who is driving the chariot, he asks him, please drive me in the middle of the two armies, and I want to see who are the opposite people in the other army. And when Krishna brings Arjuna in the middle, Arjuna is really becoming bewildered, because he sees on the other side are family members, friends, guru, and people that he actually really loves, and he feels he will need now to fight against them. So it is said that his bow is falling from his hands, he has tears flowing his eyes, but his mouth is totally dry. According to Ayurvedic point of view, that means really like big mess is happening on the emotional level. And there we start actually the chapter number 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. So this chapter is called The Content of the Gita Summarized. So this chapter is very important because he summarized the whole Bhagavad Gita, is summarized into this particular chapter. We have very often in India, when there are some special ceremonies, they will recite particularly the chapter number 2 of Bhagavad Gita, because he summarizes everything and is extremely potent. So one first lesson we can hear here is that actually during the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna did not speak a word. In the first chapter, Arjuna is speaking to Krishna and saying, I'm not going to fight. And then he is giving all the reason why he don't want to fight. He has like really a good amount of excuse or arguments why not to fight. And Krishna has remained fully silent for the full chapter, and to the chapter number 2, which is our first lesson today, that Krishna is showing us that he is the best counselor. A counselor is a person who is not quick in giving guidance or giving advice, but a person who is actually able to listen carefully before actually helping the other person. So we are often very quick in giving advice when someone has a problem, but Krishna is giving us the example of the best counselor. You first listen, then you understand the other person, and then you can actually give an answer. So this is the first lesson we can take from the chapter number 2. Krishna has waited quite some times before starting speaking to Arjuna. Now another thing that is very interesting is that Arjuna is next to Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Can you imagine? You are just right to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It must be really an amazing experience. But still, Arjuna is totally bewildered, totally in illusion, just next to the Supreme Lord. How is that possible? You are just next to God and you are totally bewildered. And the answer is that it's not enough to be close to God, but it's very important to listen from God. When Arjuna will listen from Krishna, then his illusion will be removed. But just being close to him, it did not work. In the same way, we might come to the temple, we might go to the church, we might go to some spiritual place. But if we don't hear, then we might well remain in illusion. Like Srila Prabhupada was saying, if we go to holy place of pilgrimage, it's not enough to just go and take bath there. You have to hear from the saints. You have to approach the saints and hear from them. So here comes already the second lesson. It's not enough to be in close proximity from something spiritual, but we have to hear We have to hear from Krishna in this instance. So now we are there in the middle of the two armies. And we have just a very short overview of Bhagavad Gita, which has 18 chapters, around 700 verses. And those 18 chapters are divided in 3 sections. The first section is the yoga, karma yoga, it's called, which is the yoga of success. Then we have the yoga of love, bhakti yoga. And then we have jnana yoga, or the yoga of wisdom. So the yoga of success, this 6 first chapter will teach us how to act in this world in order to maximize our potential and capabilities. And then the second chapter, the yoga of love, this is the most important one. Like if you take the example of a sandwich, you have usually 2 pieces of bread up and down, which are good. It's good they are there, but it's not the best. The best is really what is in the middle. So in the same way, the middle 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this is like the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, the most important, because it deals with love and divine love and relationship between Krishna and the living entities. So that's the most important one. And then the yoga of wisdom, how to get wisdom in our life and how to awaken this love of God. So this course is made with acronyms that will help you to remember the second chapter. I hope that after this lecture, every one of you will know the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita very well. And that will be very easy with this acronym. And the acronym of the second chapter is Gita. Quite easy to remember. So the G stands for Guru, the I for identity, T for 2 duties, and A for Atmarama. So this is the journey we will do today. Arjuna is very, very much bewildered. He don't know how to do, what to do. So he's approaching Krishna and asking him, please, can you become my guru? Can you please instruct me? I have a big decision to take. How will I do it on my own? I need your help. And then Krishna will start his help by giving him information about identity. Who actually you are, Arjuna? And then, after giving this knowledge of identity, he will explain, now that you know who you are, you need to know what you need to do in this world, how you have to act in this world. And while doing that, he's ending the chapter with explaining what is the happening to a person that reached perfection. He's Atmaram, a person self-satisfied inside of himself. So this is the journey we will take today. And we start with the first letter of the acronym for the spiritual master or guru, which has a very deep importance in life. And I often like to mention this example of a person that wants to play guitar. He might just get a guitar and try something out. If he was Jimi Hendrix in previous life, he might be able to do something good, but usually nothing much will come out. Then he can take a book and get more information about it and be able to play better. But the best way of learning will be when you approach a master who will look, oh no, don't put your hands like this, more like that, and who will be able to correct and adjust. So in the same way, any successful people in this world, they had to go through teachers to really learn the art of what they wanted. So what to say of spirituality and spiritual life? This is an absolute must, that we approach a teacher and that we get proper guidance for anyone who is actually sincere and eager to make spiritual progress. There is a book called Hari Bhakti Vilas, where was it Sanatan Goswami or Gopal Bhatta Goswami? Hari Bhakti Vilas? Both of them, and they were. Yeah. And there in this book, they are giving 64 principles of Bhakti Yoga which are like the most essential principles for bhakti. And it's very interesting that the first, they are speaking about accepting a spiritual master or be in relation to a spiritual master. So the first one is accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, receiving initiation and learning from the spiritual master how to do bhakti, obeying the order of the spiritual master with faith and devotion, following the footsteps of great acharyas under the direction of the spiritual master, and the fifth, inquiring from the spiritual master on how to advance in spiritual life. Which that one is actually very good. Accepting a spiritual master sometimes might look like a fashion, like something fun. Oh, I got a new name, or oh, I have a guru, and like this. But it's actually something very, very deep, because it's connected. It must be connected to our desire to make spiritual advancement. Once my spiritual master was asked, what is the requirement that you have from your disciple? What do you expect from your disciples? And His Holiness Sachinandana Swami said, I expect them to always be looking for Krishna. As soon as they stop looking for Krishna or for God, then their relationship with the spiritual master do not make sense anymore. So this is actually like the last one here, to inquire from the spiritual master how to advance. Sometimes some of you might be initiated, some of you might meet your spiritual master, and the spiritual master might look at you and say, how are you? And you might say, oh, I'm good, Guru Maharaj, thank you. Like usually we do. But actually the main thing is that we will ask, we are ready, we will ask the spiritual master, how can I make further progress? We are aware where we are, in which position we are, and we are ready to ask questions, so how we will make actually spiritual progress. So back to the to the battlefield, there are 640 million soldiers. That's quite of a big fight that is ready to take place, and now Arjuna has to make a decision, a big decision. Should I go and hide into the forest, or should I fight? This is and Arjuna will. The first thing he will do will be the best. He is approaching Krishna and asking him for help. This is actually the first decision he's taking, and the best decision for the whole Bhagavad Gita, because by doing that, success is assured. And this is also in the same way for us. We might have to take decision, but as soon as we will turn toward Krishna, or we will see later toward the spiritual master, then we are assured we will get the right choice. Right choice will come. I think we all have times in our life where we have to take big decisions. Should I marry or not? What should I study in the university? Decisions that will have like big impact on our life. Should I stay working, or should I join the temple? Could be a question. There are many moments in life when we have like those crossroads where we have to take a big decision. And there we want to take inspiration from Arjuna and turn toward Krishna and Krishna consciousness for being able to take the right decision. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 7. Could you like to read it loud? Could you read it loud? Yeah.
Now I'm confused about my duty, and I've lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I'm your disciple, and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me.
So here we can feel what is Arjuna going on in his heart. His heart is turned. He's bewildered, and he's coming. We were friends so far, but now I want you to act as my guru. I want you to really instruct me. It is said that there are some questions that can't be answered by Google. Therefore, to take proper decision, we need inspiration. We also need a little bit introspection into our life, where we are, what will be the consequence if I do this, what will be the consequence if I do that. We have a little bit work to be done on ourselves, but mainly the main factor will be inspiration. And there we have, where do we find the inspiration to take those decisions? One is the scriptures, guidebooks, the spiritual teacher, outer guru, and the super soul, which is like the inner guru. So if we go toward those three to take decision, we have success assured. But if we don't, it might not work. Scriptures will give us a lot of help. There are actually a lot of practical information or instruction that we find in the scripture of how to live in this world, but we might also interpret them a little bit the way we want. But when we are in connection to a spiritual master, then we cannot get it wrong. If we are sincere, we are bound to really get it right. The super soul or the inner guru is also there, but that's when we are quite advanced. Otherwise, we might just do what we want and say, oh yeah, I heard it from my inner guru inside, and it might not really work. That's for more advanced practitioners. So now we go to the I for identity. When we come in contact with the spiritual master, he will inform us about our identity. And without this identity, we are in existential confusion. Who am I? Why I'm here? What's my future? I guess everyone gets those questions in his life. Some they like to take note of those questions and find the solution. Some they feel later on, not for now. And I'm sure all of you are ready to address those questions. Otherwise, you would not be here in the temple. Okay. So, if we don't deeply understand our identity, we will stay in this existential confusion. But if we understand our identity, we will live a happy, purposeful, and meaningful existence. And here we can hear the words of Krishna, who is instructing Arjuna about this point of identity. Uttama Shloka, would you like to read?
Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
So this is just so simple, but at the same time so powerful. This is something many of us have heard many times that might sound like a ABC of spiritual life, but I'm sure many of us did not yet realize it. Therefore we have to keep hearing and keep praying, actually, that one day we will come to a stage of realization. So here I think many of you knows this part, but we can see here is the gross body, here is the subtle body, and here is the soul. How much are you or we worth? Who guess how much are we worth of? 475 Swiss francs. These are the components of our body, and if we need to buy those ingredients to make the body, that's the price we will cost. I hope it's not depressing news for anyone, but this shows that actually the value of our being has nothing to do with the body, but this is actually the soul inside that gives all the value to the material body. So here that's very simple, huh? The science of the self. We have the soul, we have the subtle body, which is made of mind, intelligence and ego, and then we have the gross body made of earth, water, fire and air. And then that's all what Krishna speaks in all the information that Krishna gives in the second chapter. Huh? Then he speaks of the reincarnation at the time of death. The subtle body and the soul are leaving the material body to enter another material body. And there are actually quite some Vedic ceremonies when a person leaves the body for 13 days. There are some particular prayers and particular ceremonies to be done so that the soul will take another suitable body or auspicious body. Huh? And that is happening as long as we don't realize ourselves as actually eternal servant of the Lord. We will need to keep taking bodies. But Krishna said there is a shortcut. At the time of death, if you can think of me, then you don't have to take another body, you can come. And one might say, oh, that's a good information. I can live happily in this world, and at the time of death, Krishna, 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 and I go back to the spiritual world. Why so much sadhana and effort and austerities and no need of just time of death? But actually our consciousness, especially at the time of death, will be very much molded according to our life experience. So if we want to have proper consciousness at the time of death, rather we start now. It takes time to really adjust our consciousness. Okay, and at that time, then the material body is dead, the subtle body becomes dissolved, and the soul gets into a spiritual body. There are many, many ways that prove this phenomenon. One, language. We are sometimes people, young, especially in the young, in children, like this experience of children who are speaking a language they never learned before, from a totally other country. We have record of that. Experience of déjà vu, things that we see that we know we have seen them already. Observations, abilities, like I think Mozart created his first symphony when he was 7 years old, and that was already like a huge masterpiece. That's just you cannot do it if you were not doing it already in previous life. Or children who knew mathematics before even going to school and things like that. There are many situations like this. Incidents like near-death experience, out-of-body experience, evidence, regression. So there is really a lot of evidences about the eternity of the soul moving from one body to the other body. So this life is just one chapter. I wanted to share with you also something very interesting, because this is, okay, many of us might think, yeah, I know that very well, I heard it very often, but again, how much do we actually meditate or reflect or think deeply on those points? We have, okay, in one sense, or one hand, we have that we are not the body, and this we have heard many, many times. And then on the positive side, what we are a spiritual soul. Huh? We are eternal servant of the Lord. We are part of the Lord. And I was in my own reading, I was reading recently in the 11th canto. There are 4 saints, the 4 Kumaras, and they approach Lord Brahma, which is their father, and they ask him a question. They say, dear father, how can we ever separate the object of the senses from our senses. Like for example, our senses of vision, the object of the senses will be form. Our smell, the object will be fragrance. So all those sense objects are there in the world, and our senses are all the time attracted. Sound, with hearing. So our senses are all the time, it seems, the Four Kumara said, it seems that the senses are in the mind, and the mind in the senses. How can we ever separate the two? And Brahma gets a little bit, I'm not sure what's the answer. And at that time, there is one very famous incarnation of the Lord, the Hamsa avatar, that is arriving, and he's giving the answer. And he said the answer, you just cannot. You cannot separate the sense object and the senses, no way. But you can separate yourself from the sense object, the senses and the mind. And then he gave a very nice tip how to do that. And he said you can do that by remembering that you have the same nature as I. So when we remember that we have the same nature as Krishna, that we are also full of eternity, full of bliss and full of knowledge, then we can actually detach from the gross body, subtle body, and the object of the senses. And there also we hear it now, okay, yeah, thank you, okay, interesting. But if we chew on it, maybe we even learn the verse, or we meditate on it, and we take it like in a level deeper into our heart, it will be part of our life. And I was doing that somehow on this verse, and I noticed, as you go through the day, sometimes you are a little tense, you are a little attached, you do things like this, things you have worries, you are taken by the modes of material nature here and there. But I noticed anytime I was remembering, I am of the same nature as my Lord, it was like a big, it was like the grip of material world was just like totally losing its grip on me. And I really would like to encourage all of you who knows this knowledge very well, to not take it cheap. And sometimes one even feels frustrated to hear this knowledge, because I still did not realize it in so many years. But it's really something we have to chew on. It's something we have to meditate on. I'm eternal. And if we are connected to this fact of being eternal, where is there any problem? It's just the whole perspective of the world changes. All our priorities in life changes. So this is really something that we have to hear again and again. Therefore Prabhupada was repeating so many times. But for us not to get bored, but for us to really take the opportunity to remember that and take it in a level deeper into our heart. Can I tell you a joke?
Yes.
Yeah? Sometimes it's good, a joke in middle of philosophical point. It's connected to identity. If you go to the street and you ask people who you are, many will say, I'm a lady, I'm a German, I'm Indian, I am a doctor, I am a philosopher. One might even say, I'm a Hare Krishna. Could be. We all have like some identification that we think it's actually us inside. So once there was a prime minister, and this prime minister was invited to visit a mental hospital. So the prime minister came to the mental hospital, and one patient was coming out of the mental hospital, yet he was cured. So the prime minister see the patient and say, oh, who are you? And oh, I'm so and so, and oh, you seem to come out, you are cured. And they say, oh yeah, 10 years, it was really tough, but they cured me, now I'm cured, and it's really nice. And then the patient asked the prime minister, and who are you? And the prime minister said, I am the prime minister. And then the patient became pale and said, I started like this too. So then the Prime Minister come in, he's getting into the, and he see one man who has his hand into this his kurta or blouse, and he say, "Who are you?" And the man said, "I am Napoleon." And the Prime Minister asked, "Who told you that?" And he said, "God told me that." And then the neighbor said, "I never told him that." A small joke, but it's actually us. It's actually us. We are also all the time identifying ourselves to actually who we are not. We are identifying ourselves to the material body, but not as a spiritual soul. So let's laugh about it, but let's take it serious also. That's something we have to meditate. Yeah, please come all a little bit more further. Just for the ladies, it's a little bit more difficult because of the screen. Yeah. So now we go to the next letter of the acronym, which is T for two dharmas. Once we come to this understanding that we are a spiritual soul, just for time-wise, we go until 5? Yeah, okay, good, we are good. So once we understand that we are an eternal soul, we have to understand how to work in this world, how to interact, and what to do in this world. And this is something that will be very, very helpful. It is actually called Dharma. Or Dharma can be translated into duty, religion, nature. This is the right way of living. And Dharma is divided in two categories. One is the Svadharma, which is worldly duties in this world, which is connected to family members, to work, to our duties in this world. And then we have the Sanatan Dharma, which is the spiritual duties. So the Svadharma, worldly duties, they are connected to us being inside this body, and the Sanatan Dharma is there connected to us being a soul. So Krishna speaks of that further into the chapter, and maybe Krishna Premarupa, you could read loud.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourselves the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Yeah. So Krishna said, you have to do your duties in this world, and this he will repeat to Arjuna like many times. You have to fight. That's your duty. You are a kshatriya. That's what you have to do. You are a warrior by nature. You have to do that. But here he is giving a very nice information extra. Is you have to do it detached. You should not be attached to the result of your action. And then beyond the Svadharma, Krishna speaks about the Sanatan Dharma, or this eternal duty, and this is the duty of the soul. Janti.
Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me.
Okay, and then here we get another, here is not so, we go from one to the other. So we had first the Svadharma in this world, now we had the Sanatan Dharma, and now we go back to Svadharma, where we get another very important information of when we act in this world, another things we have to be careful of to do it right. The second part, down.
Sorry.
O best among the twice born, it is concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, is to please the Lord Hari.
So here, when we have another very important information, when we deal in this world, all the activities, we can actually make them spiritual by connecting them to the Lord. Sometimes there is this misconception that spiritual life means we have to renounce the world. It has nothing to do with renouncing the world. You stay in the world, but you act, actually, you dedicate your activities for the pleasure of the Lord. So those material activities, or those duties that we have to do in this world, one, we are not attached to them, to the result, and the other one, we try to dedicate them to the Lord. And then the duties of the soul, or the Sanatana Dharma, this is whenever we try to remember the Lord, whenever we pray to the Lord, whenever we remember the Lord, or hear about, or sing, or all those activities of bhakti, those are actually the Sanatana Dharma. And here I would like to ask all of you to reflect a little bit, because those two needs to go in parallel. Only when one is a liberated person, he can actually let go of the Dharma of this world. But in a rough look like this, I think we don't have anyone liberated here. So we can all know that, sorry, sometimes I try to make a little joke, but the point is we have actually to balance both of them and to reflect how we are doing. How much do I connect in my material duties? How much do I connect to the Lord? How much attached I am to the result? This is something we have to look. And also how I'm doing in my spiritual practices. Are they nourishing? Are they giving me life? Or I'm doing that as a ritual and I'm dry like a piece of wood? That's a question that needs to be actually addressed, and that's why it is there. Krishna speaks about that, not only for Arjuna, but for all of us, to go a little bit deeper and introspect how we are doing in those two duties in our own life. And then we come to the last letter of the acronym, which is A for Atmarama, the self-satisfied. And Krishna, Arjuna is asking actually Krishna a question about how will be an Atmarama. What is a self-realized person? Maybe Damodar Prasad, you like to read?
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk?
And then Krishna answers. Maybe one Mataji? Yes.
One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge.
Thank you. So here Krishna is explaining what will happen when we find the Guru, when we understand our identity, when we know how to deal in this world, we will come to this level of Atmarama. Atma means soul and Rama means pleasure. That means it's someone who is taking pleasure inside. A person who is not anymore trying to extract pleasure from the material world, but who find his full satisfaction inside of the heart. And here Krishna explained, this person, this Atmarama, is totally free from the dualities. When something bad happened, no problem. When something good happened, no problem. He's totally equipoised in those situations, and he's also free from material attachments, free from anger and fear. Can you imagine how it will feel, a life without fear, a life without attachments to this world? That's a life of freedom. That's what we are looking for. When Nelson Mandela came out of prison, devotees approach Nelson Mandela and they say, we have a Bhagavad Gita for you. And Nelson Mandela said, I know Bhagavad Gita, I read it when I was in jail. So the devotees asked, what did you learn from the Bhagavad Gita? And Nelson Mandela said, I have learned that if I keep a grudge toward my so-called enemies, I will never be out of prison. Understanding that actually he was free from the prison, but if inside he will keep feelings of anger toward his opponent, he will actually still be in prison, and that he will have actually to go higher into this level of Atmarama and let go of all this fear and anger and those qualities. So we often think that we are controlled by external circumstances, but actually we are often controlled by our own emotions. We can't control the external world, but we can control our inner world. And now I think we come to the best part of today's presentation. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? So. We don't have any collectioner of cars here who can really enjoy it fully. I like this picture very nicely. It's actually make a very, very deep point, because this is one perspective of seeing, and look at this one. So this is the perspective of the Atmarama. He can see the world from a different perspective. In the first picture, in this one, we just see what is in front of our eyes. We just don't see the real picture, and very, very often in life we are lost into the small picture of what is happening. We don't see the whole perspective of our life, and this is the Atmarama. He will actually see the world into the proper perspective. So I think one lesson we can take from this part of Atmarama is that we get inspired and get eager actually to move forward in our life, to get a different perspective in our life. I think we all have the experience of being baffled by material energy. Like sometimes if you are in the sea and there are huge waves, you are splash and splash and splash here and right and left, and so this is very often what we experience in this world. And this happened, and what this one said, and oh, and I'm fired from my job, and oh, and this and that. We are just constantly baffled by material nature, and I think we should become eager. There is a way. There are so many saints in so many different traditions even who came to this level of Atmarama, to this level where they are actually beyond those dualities. And this is a right that we all have. This is what is actually waiting for us, but we have to go to G, I, T, and then we come to A. Guru, identity, how to behave in this world, and then we can come to the level of Atmarama. So that was for today. The acronym is Gita. I guess by now you all know it. If someone asks you what is the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita speaking about, what will you say? Louder? Guru, okay. Identity. Two duties. Atmaram. Wonderful. What wonderful. You are perfect students. Sorry. Okay. There is last things I would like to show today that I feel makes a lot of sense, and this shows a little bit the richness of all our scriptures in the Vedic tradition. There are actually three. The scriptures will touch three areas that are actually very important. The first one is called Sambandha, or relationship. This is the understanding of what this world is, what is material, what is spiritual, what are the components of this world, what is spiritual, and what is our relationship with God. This is the Sambandha. And then we have Abhideya, practice, how we will get better, how we will get closer to God. And then we have the last one, which is Prayojana, which is the perfection. So today in what we saw, we have Guru and identity, they fit into Sambandha. We meet the spiritual master, and we hear from the spiritual master who we are, what is the nature of the soul, what is the nature of the body, and like this, what is this world about. And then when we go to the two duties, we actually go to the abhideya, the practice, how to actually practice our spiritual practice, our Sanatana Dharma, and how to interact with this world, with the Svadharma. And then Atmarama touch into the perfection, what we will reach, what will be the result of our activities. If someone do not understand that so well, those three elements, it can be explained in a very easy way. If you take a cookbook, when you have a cookbook, you will first have the ingredients, pears, sugar, flour, so this will be the sambandha. And then it will be written, you grate the apples, you cook them in that way, you add the sugar, that will be the abhideya, and at the end is what you have cooked. This is the prayojana, this is the end result. So the Gita, it's summarizing the whole, the second chapter is summarizing the whole entire Bhagavad Gita and touch on all the levels of this Vedic knowledge. And at the end, the Bhagavad Gita will help us to think differently. The world teaches us act first, ask later, and Bhagavad Gita teaches us ask first and act later. So we give a big thank you to the School of Bhakti in London who have made those presentations. We have them for the whole 18 chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and it's a very beautiful way to understand clearly the different sections of a different chapter and how they are actually nicely going together in sequences. So I hope something is there that you can take with you. I just want to summarize shortly the different lessons that we had. The first lessons we heard about how Krishna is the best counselor. He's not quick in giving answers, but he was really listening to Arjuna to the end and really understanding him before he actually started to give him guidance. Lesson 2, it's not enough to be close to God, but we need to hear from God. Lesson 3, how to take proper decision. We will connect to spirituality, connect to the scriptures, the spiritual master, or the spiritual master insight for those of you who are very advanced. But out of the three, the spiritual master is the most important. And there we were taking a little bit time to really emphasize in that. And for those of you who are very sincere in spiritual life and do not have a spiritual master, that should be really something you have to think about if you want to move nicely further. And for all of you who have a spiritual master, you can reflect on how good you are in connecting with him, meditating upon him, serving his mission, in asking him how you can make progress in your life. How much do you actually take opportunity of the guidance that you have from your spiritual master? And then we had about identity, that it's a must that we regularly, as much as possible, as often as possible, meditate on our eternal identity of being a part, having the same nature as Krishna. It's very beautiful. A little introspection on the two Dharma. How am I doing in my spiritual practices? How I'm doing in interacting with the world? How attached I am in what I do in this world? How much I connect what I do to this world with the Lord? And at the end, meditation a little on the Atmarama. What is going to wait for us? For us, there is even much beyond the Atmarama level. This is like already on the level that goes beyond the dualities of this world, but beyond that there is much more. That's the loving exchange between the living entity and the Lord, and that will be discussed in the 6th middle chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We don't touch too much on it, but there is much more than this. So I stop here. I thank you for your attention, And I don't know if you have we have a little time open, if you have some questions or some comments.
Thank you very much. I have a question about the prayojana, because if we cook something, we have to know what we cook in the beginning. That sounds like the prayojana is first. We have to know about prayojana, the goal. Can you more elaborate on that? About that?
Yeah, makes sense. It makes sense. We might know first what we want to cook, and then you need to look at what is your ingredients. I think it starts because, I mean, if you connect to the Bhagavad Gita also, Arjuna was in a state where he had doubt into his life, into what he had to do, and it was not easy to deal with that. And many of us, we might have doubts of this material world and what to do in this material world. And then we need to actually get a glimpse or a vision of what is there waiting for us in the spiritual dimension, and then we can go through the other steps. So in that sense, it makes sense. We need to have a little idea of what we will get out of it if we go through the spiritual journey. So in that sense, we need also to know it, to know a little of the prayojana even before. Yeah, makes sense. Good. Anyone else? Srisha.
Thank you so much for a beautiful presentation. My question is, I would like to hear from two levels, from your own experience and also from the book. You spoke of these two dharmas which we have in the world, and how can we befriend them? What is the way of making them friends? Often in the beginning of the spiritual life, we are pulled on one or on the other side, and how I feel the more mature we are, comes one level until we are Atmaram, this level that they have to become friends and mutually serve us and we to serve them. So any reflection you have on this, I would be very grateful.
Thank you. It's actually a matter of balance. We have to balance both of them, and I think we are all aware that it's really not easy to have balance in this world. We are often too much in one side or too much in the other side. So I heard once a definition of maturity. A mature person is a person who has found this balance. And this is something that we need to introspect in our own life, but we can also ask help from devotees who knows us, who loves us, and maybe who have a little bit more experience. I think it's also, we have to be realistic. Sometimes we tend to put the too high. Sometimes we are just so frustrated of being a conditioned souls that now finish with this material world and only spiritual, but it's not sustainable. And I think we just have sometimes to move from extreme so that we actually get slowly into the middle. But mainly getting some feedback from others and seeing if you are happy. When you can harmonize them nicely, you will naturally feel happy and satisfied. But when they are not, then you are frustrated and tense and struggling. So that you can. But it needs a lot of introspection, and guidance. Thank you. Okay. So thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Maharaj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol.
His Grace Gaurahari Prabhu ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for this nice presentation. So now we're going to invite Lokapavani Mataji. She would like to take 2 minutes of our time to say something about the College of Vedic Studies.
So I would like to thank Gaurahari Prabhu because you said everything. College of Vedic Studies is actually like a branch of School of Bhakti. And on Thursday we are starting with the Gita Live course. So there will be 10 sessions, and one of the sessions is what you just heard. So that's very nice. So I would like to invite you, and also if you have friends, this is actually for beginners in Bhakti, in the sense that we help people to maybe dive deeper into Bhagavad Gita, to understand it, because as Prabhu said, each chapter has an acronym, so it's like a key to unlock the chapter of the Bhagavad Gita for you, and also so you can remember it and understand it and even go deeper and deeper. So discussions are based on the materials of School of Bhakti, which was prepared by Keshava Swami, and they're very nice. So Ramapriya, she has, I was actually afraid how we are going to advertise this, because this is my flyer. Someone printed it very small, but somehow by Krishna's arrangement you got all the information, and I thank you again. So you can distribute if someone is interested. We have our webpage. You can read it here or look at it in the flyer as well. It's not only Gita Live that we have from courses. Harikatha is giving Power series. This is really for like total beginners, in the sense of how to apply spirituality in your everyday life. But spirituality in the sense of topics that actually are very general, but we think that they are not connected with spirituality. So like power of habit, power of association, power of sound, so you can discuss these things. And after Gita Live there is Bhakti Live, so there are so many courses where you can learn so many things. Also for devotees we have deity worship course, and now you have astrology outside also poster, you can get informed. So that is all that I wanted to present to you. And just register, let's discuss, let's read the Shastras, let's broaden our minds and try to have high thinking in our lives. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Now there's going to be a vegetarian feast outside, prasadam. You're all invited for that. And at 6:15 for the... By the way, anyone here for the first time?
Yeah.
Welcome. We should have asked before the class, but better late than never. So please take part in the prasadam feast. 6:15 there's going to be a guided japa meditation in the temple room. You can learn how to chant, meditate on prayer beats. And at 7 o'clock there will be the Gaurahari, where we have a ceremony and we continue with kirtan. 8 o'clock also we have more kirtan, today with Thakur Haridas Prabhu. Very nice kirtan singer from Holland. So many reasons to stay, and thank you all for coming. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
I can send you a